welcome to Red English World. And today we're reading these two books. And this two book name is Make Way for Darkness, Robert Bicklowski and Fancy Nancy Apple Galore. Are you ready to read? But we read faster and faster because I'm going to school. Are you ready to read? Here we go. Make Way for Darkness, Robert Bicklowski. Mr. and Mr. Mallet, were looking for a place to live, but every time they Mallet saw there was a look-alike place, Melody said was no good. There was a sharp bee, frogs, and roots and turtles the water, and she was not going to raise a family will not be frogs or the turtles, so they flee on. When they got to Boston, they fell to cried and fin any turtle. There was a nice pond and public garden with a little island on it. There was a very place to spend the night. Quacked Mrs. Mallet, so they flapped. Next morning, they finished the breakfast and moved to the bottom of the pond, but they didn't find much. Just they was getting ready to start their way, there was a strange Morris Burns came by. There was pushing a fool for a lot of people. They're sitting on his back. Good morning, quacked Melody. Ring a parting. There wasn't a bird the penis of the water. So Melody frowns them on the round, and Pond got another breakfast, better than the first. I like this place, said Mr. Melody. Climb out of the bank and Melody along. Why don't you build a nest and raise ducklings right on the pond? There was no frogs and turtles. There's people filling the ice peanuts. What could be better? Good, said Mrs. Mallet. There was ridiculous at last. Mrs. Mallet, boldly find a place sitting but look out, quacked Mrs. Mallet after the editor. And you get run over. As she was unwrapping at it, there's no place in babies. There goes loose. There was things are rushing about. There's to somewhere else. They looked at the rushing and square, but there wasn't no water to swim. When they flew over the Crow's river, there wasn't a better. Quacked Mrs. Mallet. The island looks like a quiet place. There wasn't look a little way from the public garden. Yes, said Mrs. Mallet, rumbling the peanuts. There wasn't looks like just like the place's hitch ducklings. So the truth because she was nothing. There wasn't near the water and sitting down the air last. That wasn't just in time, for there wasn't making the mouth, and there wasn't all things in flat as to drop it out. There was no able to fly again and until new ones growing. And of course there was swim, and one day they swam over the park of the riverbank. There was a mate, a policeman called Michael. Michael filled them a penis, and after that Melody's called a mattress every day. After Miss Mallet, there was no 8 eggs his nest could to visit Michael anymore. Because she wasn't had stayed on the eggs to keep them warm, so she had off the nest only to get the drink of the water. So they have to lunch or do count eggs to make sure they're all there. One day, Ducklings looked out of the first jack, and quack, and then lack, then make, and then knack, and wank, and there was a pack, and quack, and Mr. and Mrs. Mallet was bursting with a pond. There wasn't great parsley taking, of course, so many ducklings. She wasn't damn and busy. One day, Mrs. Mallet, he'd like to take a trip, see the rest of the rebels like. Filter so off, he said. I'll meet you a week. But this is Pebble of the garden. She wasn't no shouter. Take a good of the ducklings. Don't you worry, said Mrs. Mallet. Now know all about bringing up children. And he said, she tried her mom to swim and died. She couldn't them to walk in the line. She come there were cold and kissed herself and giving the ride and through this and another things the wheels. When last full of perfectly selfless with them, she wasn't at the morning. Come along, children, follow me, before you kinked all jacks, cack, and mack, and knack, and quank, pank, and quack fell into the light, and just there wasn't Venus right. There was a melody, what there wasn't water, there was swim behind the officer's bank. On a melody, stop across the road, honk honk, when there was splitting ears, quack, there was a Miss Mallet, tumbling again, quack, 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 went Jack, cack, lack, mack, knack, oink, pack, and quack. They just allowed there was a little pickers and quack. There was no keep orating by on the quack and quacking. Honk, quack, 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 quack. There wasn't such a noise of Michael coming away. In the line's arms of blowing questioned. Quack, quack, quack. Tweet. Honk. And it wasn't palms, there was nor. She wasn't now another the way a policeman do. For Mrs. Mallet to cross over. As soon Mrs. Mallet Ducklings was saved another light after was down and Maston up the street, and Michael brushed back a police booth. He called the safety of the warhawk and said, there was a family of dogs walking the street, Carly said. Family of what dogs? Yelled Michael. She was a police car, quick. Meanwhile, Miss Mallet, she wasn't corner bug of stopped. She wasn't turned into Michael Street, and Jack, and Michael, and Cack, and Lack, and Knack, and Oink, and Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone's read already from the bitches, they said. Isn't it amazing? And then she slipped the streets and said, well, now isn't it that nice? And when Mrs. Mallet heard the friends to tip her and air and walk all along and out the street in her netted. When they came to car and there was a Rim Street, there was a heckles. There was policemen held back of the trip. Mrs. Melody was a Ducklings could march across the street. Right on the pebble, the garden. Inside, a great dad was around, said thank you, the policeman. And they smiled and they waved. When they wasn't sold apart across those little island, there was a merchant there waiting for them, just as they promised. The Ducklings liked to see the island so much, they decided to live there. All day long followed the swing boats and in the peanuts. When they like forced to swim on the little island and go to sleep. The end. And one more time, book Fancy Nancy, Apples Galore. Adore is autumn. Autumn is fancy for fall. The air took crisp. It's fresh is so colorful. Fresh means it lifts the apples. Ooh la la. Today is our going to a trip. We're going to apple picking. I hope we all are glad of apples. I dad them best, I tell Lino. He is my trip buddy. Glitter is for a fancy party. So glitter apples must be fancy. Lionel does not answer. He covered his mouth in glass. She is critic. Miss Glass shouts, "Stop the bus!" The Lionel laughed and said, "It was a joke." Miss Glass replying, "Lionel, that's fancy for shoulder. She wasn't no report got you." And there was a lie in the orchard. Orchard is a garden of trees. It was a loaded apples. There was an apples galore. Everyone get a basket. Remember, do not climb in branches, Miss Glass says. There was lots of apples near to the ground. Picked lots of apples. Lionel jiggles apples. He explained to Sugar all of his stops. Drop the apples and run around the circle. Ow! Ow! Birds were stinging me! Miss Glass did trouble. That means right to us. Lionel laughed and said, "I was just joking. There was not a funny joke," Miss Glass told him. He refrains Lionel some more. "I don't think you should go far away." But three buddies stayed together. So I ditched for Lionel. Voila! There wasn't a lot of apple trees. There wasn't one problem. The apples was high branches. The leader, how go to the will not help me get it, and start climbing up the tree. Miss Glass told us not to worry it happened. Those Lionel listen. If you said no or right, up of the climbs. Lionel is buried in the branches. There were so many apples. Glitter apple galore. Lionel shakes the wrench. The apples not drop. He crawls out the driver. "Be careful, I say." There's cracking sound and all branch breaking. "Help! Help!" Lionel yells. "Help! Help!" I yell too. Kiss nervously look over and laugh. Let's think it's a joke. Miss Glass not hear it. She's too far away. "Can you jump, Lionel?" I asked. "It's too far down," he said. Then I remembered the ladder. I dish over the ring and back. It's so heavy. I respect a lot. That's fancy for sweet. Miss Glass stares at the tree now. She sees that it's no joke. Together we stand up the ladder. Lionel climbs down separately, crack. The branch breaks. Down come the apples. Miss Glass is very mad at Lionel. He couldn't know the high ride. He couldn't how many apples those. On the right back, I say, "Thank you for glitter apples." Save them apple socks for Lionel. His ribs and down and bumps. A good fall. Then we eat a glitter apple. They do not look fancy, but they are very tasty. The fancy for yummy. There was a plenty laugh for that. Glitter apple galore. Fancy, Nancy, fancy words. These are the fancy words in this book. Autumn 4. This run fast, hurry. And for which leaves on the trees. Glitter is fancy for kind of the apple. Galore, plenty of something. Originated, a garden of trees. Positive, sweet, remarkable, store, tasty, yummy. The end. Did you have fun? Your English country will come in a better book. And yours goodbye and a bird to the book too. Fancy Nancy, apples galore goodbye too. And this is Glitter Apple goodbye and Lionel goodbye too. And today, this make way for darkness goodbye too. And this is Duck goodbye. And today too, book goodbye too. And you're very, very, very goodbye. And see you next time. See you tomorrow. Bye bye, friends.